All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. I want to welcome each and every one of you to our annual poetry night with Iyama. So just in case you don't know, this is National Poetry Month, and I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate this month than bringing you these amazing poets that we have lined up for you this evening. You know, I think we can all agree words are powerful, they are meaningful and beautiful. These poets are no exception. They bring all of that and more to their wonderful work. We are so lucky to have them. Just a quick note before we get started here. No matter how you're joining us, you can learn more about the museum and our poets here through the link right underneath this live stream and the description. So make sure and check that out. You can read more about these wonderful people here. All right, so without further ado, let me introduce our first poet of the evening, Mr. Ralph Drano.
Okay, thank you, Katrina and the museum for inviting me. And I look forward to hearing all the other poets. This is an exciting event. I live in Oakland. I work as an editor, ghostwriter, writing coach and teacher. And recently I published a book to honor my late friend, Dan Marlin, who's I feel is an extraordinary poet. And so the book consists of my poems and a lot of his poems and his artwork. So I'm going to start with one of his poems called In the Pocket. Beside the railroad ties on the stony track, the sleeper is outlined beneath a checkered blanket, pulled up to her ruddy cheek. The pillow, a faded green backpack. Afternoon fog captures the sun, releases it in a wave. Gilman Street traffic hard by, a steady gleaming rage. An old black watch cap near the sleeper's head, and a wrinkled square of brown cardboard bearing a message. Anything will help. God bless. Yes, you've read it 100 times before, pleading nailed to the city's wild door. What God, you ask yourself, abandons the living here at the edge? And then, as sunlight slips again from fog's hand, an answer comes. God dwells in your pocket, man. $1 there is currency, however humble, of love. So bend now and place the money beneath a stone's weight under her hat and pray that it will be there when the sleeper wakes. So that's a poem by Daniel Marlin in the book at Work on the Garments of Refuge. And now I'm going to read some of my poems. So let's see, the next one is called The New Neighborhood. I'm 11, and we've just moved from our Jewish cocoon in the East Bronx to Flushing with its checkerboard of modest brick and stucco houses, neat lawns, American flags. It's a windy fall day, leaves playing tag on the ground. Outside my house, a stocky kid with a blonde crew cut greets me with unsmiling eyes. We exchange names. His is Alan Cage. Then he asks if I'm Jewish. Words are locked in the basement of my throat. His pale eyes bite into my face. Why do you want to know? I finally say. He shrugs. No special reason. Do you dislike Jews? I ask. He shakes his head, but peers at me as if I'm some strange animal. Cold sweat tiptoes down my back. Suppose I don't want to tell you, I blurt, then realize I've played the wrong card. A smile leaks into Alan's eyes. I bet you're Jewish. There's quiet glee in his voice. My heart rides the roller coaster. I murmur, yeah, I'm Jewish. What are you? Protestant? His chest seems to puff out. We're armored in silence. Two alien species confronting each other. My knees don't belong to me. My throat feels like sandpaper. Do you want to fight? Alan asks, in a voice limping with politeness. No, I reply, surprised by his lack of enthusiasm for religious warfare. His face softens into near friendliness. Okay, see you around. He struts away, arms swinging. I should feel relieved, but there's a melancholy song playing inside me, a song with cryptic lyrics and a melody I've heard somewhere before. The next poem is called Black Lives Matter. It's a pantoum, so the second and fourth lines of each stanza are repeated in the first and third of the next stanza. Black Lives Matter. Who will police the police? George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Philando Castile. Racism is a grisly novel written by a sociopath. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Philando Castile. Precious Candles, Snuffed Out Too Soon, written by a sociopath. Eric Garner, Sandra Bland, Tamir Rice. Precious Candles, Snuffed Out Too Soon. In the Land of the Free, Eric Garner, Sandra Bland, Tamir Rice. In the Home of the Brave, In the Land of the Free, Freddie Gray, Oscar Grant, Michael Brown. In the Home of the Brave, Who Will Police the Police? The next poem is called Ode to Two Camphor Trees in Front of My House. Corona of green and yellow leaves, an enormous broccoli crown, gleaming in the white winter sky. Your branches yearn toward heaven, your trunks firmly rooted in the earth. Your rough bark, an old man's weathered face. I inhale your subtle scent, lean against your dark brown solidity, a friend I can always depend on. Your two siblings across the street were cut down a few years ago, a grinding massacre. Did you weep silently, your roots sorrowing for your brother and sister? I hope you're never subjected to the cruelty of chainsaws and live a long life for your sake and ours, as you selflessly grant us oxygen to bathe our lungs and beauty to nourish our eyes and souls. So I'll read this poem, and maybe that will be all my time. Birdie. This was a poem. I used to volunteer at a retirement community and read to people there. And this was one of the people there, and a very interesting person. Birdie, bronze mountain of a woman behind dark glasses, wheelchair bound, round face glued to mine as I read a story about gratitude. I'm volunteering at Piedmont Gardens. When I finish reading, Birdie nods reflectively, remarks in a deep, soft voice. That was really beautiful. I'm 88 years old and grateful to still be here. When I was 2 years old, my lungs were filled with fluid. The doctor said I would die, but it wasn't my time. I nod, captivated by her vibrant energy. She continues, I look for the good in everything. I was married twice, for short times, had 3 miscarriages, but I'm not bitter. God had other plans for me. I became a practical nurse. You're amazing, I say. She shrugs it off. He's shown me the way. Quietly, she sings a song she's written, praising Jesus, then observes, I'm grateful to be in this place here, where they take such good care of us. She glances at the other residents, silent or sleeping, and shakes her head. People should talk more. We're here to communicate with one another, make friends, and live our lives in joy. When my time comes, when the good Lord is ready to take me, I want to go out with a smile on my face. Yes, sir. Birdie's slow, hoarse chuckle lingers in the room. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ralph. That was wonderful. For me, it gave such a voice to some, such powerful subject matter, and then took us somewhere really comforting, and beautiful. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our next poet up tonight is going to be Rupa from Amorti. She is not only a poet, she's also in the biotech science industry. Really excited that I got to meet someone of that very background. So hi, Rupa.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. And it's an honor to read with all the other great poets out here. So my reading will be basically pandemic pieces, and it's just, I'll go ahead and start reading. Courage. A nurse volunteers to go to Navajo Nation, leaving her elderly parents in San Francisco to care for other elders in the Rocky Canyon, running a line to pump in fluid, holding a hand. Or a doctor in Italy who speaks to her children across a closed door. She's working day and night, inserting ventilators, keeping patients breathing, so a man might recover, be wheeled out to his wife, so a grandmother may be there for another granddaughter's birthday. They don't call in sick or transfer to something less risky. They go in the line of fire without guns or Humvees, PPE in short supply, for these warriors in their carefully rationed masks. But in these gowns soaking in sweat and masks on 12 hours, they slog, applauded and cheered by residents looking from windows, a hero's welcome, only to go back to battle the next day. It's not the silver heart, star, or purple heart, but another smile of a patient, weary, exhausted, alive. And the tears shed quietly knowing they did their best, when another's breathing ends. And courage is the young man carrying out the garbage from the COVID-19 ward, masked in exhaustion, but still the smile in the eyes of that essential worker, mostly black or brown, not celebrated, but with quiet courage. They clean, they sanitize, they make it safer. And the ambulance driver and the EMTs rush to the patient's place, placing gurney after gurney, sirens blaring, navigating the narrow New York streets to get the patient in time to the ER. And in Mumbai, a maid who's lost her meager salary due to lockdown or social distancing gives up the little food she has to her daughter, starving herself, keeping courage for better days. The Amazon worker leading a protest on needing more protections. The black checkout clerk at the grocery store with the wide grin, knowing he's exposed, still smiling behind his mask, asking if I'm okay. The patient fighting for another breath, battling another punch in the lungs. He knows he's got to be alive to see his daughter graduate. They reach across to us, these many faces, those acknowledged and those not. The next poem is Breathe. Ujjayi breaths, deep inhale and exhale through restricted epiglottis, calming slow to take my mind off other breaths. The 8.46 minutes I cannot breathe of George Floyd, knee to neck, of Union Carbide metal isocyanate gas leak in Bhopal in 84, St. Xavier's Junior College, my friend and I going to the payphone, calling her mother. Her father had been in Bhopal but had left in time, unlike 500,000 others who could not leave. The creeping corona, my fear of it any minute infiltrating, my father's 80-year-old lungs, and his being more than 8,000 miles from me, and breath could become belabored, broken, and gone. And I still sit and go on with Kapalbhati or fire breath, the quick exhale, knowing while I breathe, the flames of protest burn in Oakland and Atlanta, Minneapolis and Michigan, and mixing with the unseen fire of the corona, spreading from one soul to the other, a conflagration escalating rapidly for those who cannot just sit on a cushion and shut their eyes. And of course, the echoes of Rodney King's "Why Can't We All Just Get Along?" Me, a grad student in LA, blocks of storefronts boarded once the riots began after the officers were acquitted. 20 years, so much has changed, and still so much not, as I take in breath after breath and moving to Shavasana or corpse pose for stillness, just temporary and voluntary in my case. The next one, Yesterday. Echoes of the Beatles song, "Yesterday love was such an easy game to play. Oh, I believe in yesterday." Remembering a party, a guy in grad school, strumming the guitar, singing the song. But now, yesterday, I was traveling down memory lane, another day of shelter in place, all day on the laptop, in Zoom meetings, either with just my profile picture or the white light, the camera piercing sharply, entering my bedroom, my meeting room. And so many years since my divorce, not that I met anyone before the sheltered place, but the challenge magnified now when forget dating, I'm not even meeting my friends or even going to the gym. Yesterday, I did the weekday wind down yoga on Y360, the video from Wichita, Kansas, a place I've never been to. The irony, me, an Indian yoga teacher, following a yoga video from a white Midwesterner from Wichita. I could do it on my own, but I wanted a voice to guide me, a face to see, even if a stranger on Zoom. Yes, see a class, even of only 3, and the background of that why. What's on their shelves? foam suspended for boxing practice, not at my Berkeley Y. Then listened to a sound journey, restorative yoga, but I didn't have the props, so just improvised and then turned off the light, prayed, and it became another yesterday. Who am I? Am I the biotech scientist with a PhD from Caltech, a postdoc from MIT, or a shattered divorcee, 52, trying to patch my life together, fearing being alone or married to someone wrong? And what am I? Am I the kind of person who was there for my friend after a stroke, visiting her every week, cheering her on? Or am I the selfish one deciding to keep the blue Chinese silk top for myself instead of gifting to another? Am I the flesh and bones, the breath created by my parents? Or am I the mind that's paralyzed, confused, made bad decisions in choice of marriage? Or am I just an overwhelming mixture of all of this? And am I the woman in the 2-bedroom apartment in Berkeley, cooped up in pandemic times, or the girl who grew up in Mumbai, traveled for work to Geneva and Montreal and Calvi? Am I just a speck, an insignificant part of the universe, just a tiny drop in the large Milky Way? Am I just the dust of asteroids, carbon and water and breath? And what is it that makes me human? And 2 very short ones. Stories must be told of depression's manic hold, of anxiety's aggressive intrusion, of life not being always hunky-dory, not the 1,000-watt smile, but the excavating life's cracks and crevices, the fears, the falling down, not taboo, a stigma, a label, not hush the words mental illness, but a greater understanding, a realization it's not those others. One day it could be you, just like it is me. Stories must be told of medications, example clonopin, benzodiazepine prescribed carelessly, a short-term fix, a long-term addiction, or painful withdrawal. Stories must be told of those living alone in pandemic times, the isolation, the fear, the faltering, the stumbling, the big ball of fear. Stories must be told. Not everything or everyone can have the stiff upper lip, the sunny smile. There are breaks and breakdowns. Those stories must be heard. Not just the new IPO, the brilliant doctor juggling family and kids and COVID patients with coiffed hair and red lipstick, but what are the secret fears? I just wanted to check, do I have time for one more or should I stop? One more? Okay. Consider this a wake-up call. The stress, the fear, the 12 years after the divorce, the orange engulfing panic, to take life, look, examine, understand the need to have a partner, someone to grow old with. Consider this a wake-up call to examine my life, mistakes made in choice of partner, a time for healing, for letting go, breaking down to build back again, more real, more true. Not the scientist and poet traipsing in ignorance, but one with more clear vision, mending my life, addressing my wounds, not the sparkle of a young girl, but a woman staring reality in the eye. And the panic engulfing me will slowly, breath by breath, day by day subside as I step out, make better choices, and fear will be my friend to, I hope, a better future. First one step, then another, breaking patterns deep-seated, a wake-up call, a letting go, a shattered self, a wounded one, learning to be kind to myself, not an automaton anymore on go, go, go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rupa. Gosh, I think so many people related to the words you just gave us. I think that's one thing that makes the art form of poetry so powerful. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thanks, Katrina.
Thank you. All right, let's head into our next poet of the evening is going to be Diana Teens.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here. I have 4 poems that were all written during the pandemic. My first one is called Aztec Offerings. Ears wake to hear crisp rhythmic claps. Los manos de mi hermana slap, pat, form tortillas de maíz. Creamy masa pressed exquisite by sturdy bronzed hands. Discs of golden nourishment my Aztec soul recognize. Mi corazón responds to my ancestors' ancient call, the most basic food, an offering, ofrenda, bread of mi familia, my heritage, corn of the earth, indigenous, a warm pile of wafers for gods, delicioso, coiled tortilla steaming, my tongue engulfs smoothed kernels, my nose wraps thick earthy scent. I linger, catch, mi abuelita's mama's touch through folds of morsel-rich blanket. My next poem is called White and a Woman of Color. I am white and a woman of color. My birth certificate officially states in typed black ink on pure white paper, I am female, born to a white mother and white father in the United States of America, to an American mother and father. I thought I was white until I realized I wasn't pure enough, white enough, light enough. Playing dolls with my best friend Yvonne, for some reason I saw the dolls as if for the first time. They were blonde, blue-eyed, with orangey pink skin. Her hand next to mine was pink compared to me. She was Irish German. I was Mexican. I was a shade different, another color, light tan. I wasn't pink, no blue eyes. My hair was dark. I felt ashamed, like I did something wrong. Why weren't there dolls like me? Did that mean I was bad? Did I do something to cause this to be this color? At school, the kids were white. There were a couple of Mexican ones. I didn't want to hang around them. If I did, the kids or grown-ups would notice my skin color was as dark as theirs, and they wouldn't like me anymore. I knew white people hated Mexicans. They liked their food and to travel to their country, but that was all. I felt dirty because my skin tone wasn't the same color as the other kids. I wasn't black, but I wasn't white enough. Sometimes I was white enough and sometimes I wasn't. That was the world I learned to live in. As I got older, my prettiness stood out more than my color. I was deemed exotic because I had a perpetual built-in tan, which some whites admired. When asked about my background and I said Mexican, gasps or horrified looks would get suggestions to say I was Italian or Spanish. Those ethnic designations were acceptable. It was confusing. I was born in America, had only visited Mexico. I wasn't Mexican, barely spoke Spanish. My mother rarely made Mexican food. yet my skin tone gave me away as being not white enough. I didn't dislike my color. I liked having color to my skin. Why it was offensive was always ridiculous, ludicrous. My desire was to be accepted for who I was, not to be ogled and judged or seen as less than. I have two more short poems. One is called Dirt Sky. Earth crumbled, rich, dark, encrusted hands dig, flicking specks, chunks, earthworm parts, pincher bugs, like death, darkness, green, peeking out, torn leaves, roots, filament, deciduous, cadaverous, cavernous, sun crackling leaves, dried, burnt, burial lives lost. Ancestors call, drumming hills, hurt my ears. Voices echo, generations past. Galaxies of stars, sprinkles, planets shoot forth. Loins ache, hearts beat, blood spurts, drenches constellations. I yearned to go back to where I was born from, where the past, present, future tumble to one place, one whole, that I found playing in the backyard as a child, that the dog peed in. This next poem is called Chirp. Our expansive backyard contains nurturing trees, a statuesque oak, a palm with giant fronds, an almond swaying, reaching delicate branches, a small, slightly askew water fountain, an oval pond surrounded by sturdy rocks with concrete merboy contemplating, a wood swing hanging from a branch like a giant, strong man's arm. An open, wrought iron gazebo with flowering plants, crawling beans, and potted plant soldiers. Airborne visitors fly in, land in their places. Blue jay, robin, woodpecker, sparrow, mockingbird, finches, doves, hummingbirds. Seagulls, ducks fly overhead, chickens live next door. Butterflies do their windy dance. I am blessed to shelter this magical paradise. My bedroom window catches light, lies in wait. I strain to hear the sound of chirping in the morning breath. It's time to wake when a bird echoes my ear. I long to hear. Sometimes there is a tiny chorus, sometimes it's one bird. I prepare the day, I know I'll cry, sob wretched. I expect chirps, might not be. Thank you.
Gorgeous. I love the image. You know, I got to work with you before. I love the imagery. The poetry, it's so poignant. And, thank you so much for sharing with us.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, guys. Hope you're having fun so far. How's everyone doing? All right. All right, guys. Let's move on to our next last poet of the evening. Dana Rod. Hi, Dana.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me. I have some poems this evening to share that are within the theme of this evening, quarantine poems. I had a series I wrote last year for what we were missing in lockdown, and these are missing case reports. Case number 0812001. Missing, foresight, We ignored the harbingers of spring, brushed omens, warned off our shoulders, so we carried on, despite corpses trailing our steps. The coming specter of a dripping mandarin crushed in his hands as he smiled gleefully, vituperating everyone in sight. We have no video game power-ups to fight the big boss, only the veil of reality crashing down on our heads. Case number 0812002. Missing trajectory. No one knows where we're going anymore, least of all the future. 5-year plans crumble into getting through the next 24 hours, each hour sifting through our hands like powdered sugar on top of freshly fried dough, oil absorbing each fleck into a thick paste. We stop and start, rusted joints, waiting for oil that will never come. Standing still, we claim someone glued our eyelids shut, but we can clearly see the whites of our eyes bald with fear over what the next years will bring. Case number 0812005. Missing kindness. She draped herself in reason, and people fled in fear, reaching for far-fetched tales above their heads. Reason was already in short supply before we couldn't breathe our air without fear, and kindness took what was left. She no longer said, "We're in this together," but now everyone for themselves. This poem, next poem I have, responds to the last 4 lines of Sam Sachs's poem on PrEP or on prayer. When I say pre-exposure prophylaxis, it ends, "You know, each new medicine trails our dead behind it like wedding cans. Listen, you can hear them now, can't you?" This poem is called Trials. I hear the cans ask, what do we learn from the dead? Our doctors, before they were doctors, crept into graveyards at night, unearthed bodies to dissect and slice into unclaimed flesh, lesson planned by autopsy. Every day we're learning from our dead. If they're still infectious with rigor mortis, can they share their organs with the living? Walk a test tube, a genotype split with a second strain that couldn't kill alone, but rather intubated complicity down a larynx as systems shut down, no reset button to power back on. A sharp prevalence of the question, cause of death, natural or accident? What's the severity of this loss other than a magnitude of learning potential? Is the lesson to never take the lash falling on your cheek, the heat of freshly brewed tea against a sore lip for granted? We can't look in the rearview mirror, leaning into every new day, leaving trails of salt as cans drag through. We hear the cans. My name is Jenna Rod. Thank you so much for having me. My debut book is forthcoming from Milk and Cake Press, coming out next month. Thank you so much again.
Well, thank you so much, Jenna. I truly a voice that I will follow. Yeah, no, and I hope to, yeah, everyone, please follow her publication. She has those coming out soon. You know, now more than ever, I know we're looking, you know, for community in these tough times. So I hope that this is bringing that, to some of you tonight. Truly do through these poets. Definitely through Dede, who we just heard. Wonderful, wonderful work. Thank you so much. All right, guys, we have come to our last poet of the evening. He has become such a prominent voice through his unique work, his movement work, and his work in education as well has made him such an important figure in his community. We are so honored to have him. Please help me welcome Tongo Eisen Martin.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Poems written during the pandemic. A San Francisco police chief says, yes, you poets make points, but they're all silly. Police chief sewing a mouth onto a mouth, police chief looking straight through the poet. Flesh market, both sides of the levee, change of plans, both sides of the nonviolence on no earth, just an earth character. The subordinate says, awkward basketball moves look good on you, sir. Yes, we are everywhere, sir. Yes, unfortunately for now, white people only have Black history. We will slide the wallpaper right into their cereal bowls. Surveil the shuffle. I'm a beggar, and all of this day is too easy. I want to see all the phases of a wall. Every age it goes through, its humanity, its environmental racism. We call this the ordeal blues. Now crawl to the piano seat and make a blanket for yourself. Paint scenes of a child dancing up to the court appearance and leaving an adult, but not for home. Atlantic Ocean charts mixed in with parole papers, mainstream funding, the ruling class is only pacifism. Ruling class printing judges, fiat kangaroos, making judges hand over fist, rapture cop packs and opposition whites all above a thorny stem. Cast plans picked out like Vans for the murder show, Anglo Saints addicting you to a power structure. You want me to raise a little slave, don't you? Bash his little brain in and send him to your civil rights. No pain, just a white pain. Delicate bullets in a box next to a stack of monolith scriptures makes these bullets look relevant, don't it? I remember you. Everywhere you lay your hat is the capital of the South, the posture you introduced to that fence, the fence you introduced to political theory. If you shred my dreams, I'll take you to Gunsmoke. The suburbs are finally offended. This will be a meditation too. And that's my cousin eulogized now in literary history. Wasn't pretty, this effect on my eternal soul. I tried to cry on the side, facing a sink full of alcohol. Fine flowers of struggle that color spectrum, the cousin who is dead if you brace yourself. It's hard to write without my friend. No Malcolm positions on East Coast warfare, my friend in the audience with the Earth's coming mood, mainland jazz, you know, the organizing is all over me. Let me divine you to Lenox Avenue of the South. The river just keeps riding freights town to town, violent revolution in this very year. Open your paper to us, rulers of the night train, your humble dishwashers who live to hum the details, to look into the future like a gentle person, 3/5 of a typewriter. Do some math with me here in the absence of confidence. The luxuries of a paranoia that you can finish later. My friend died yesterday. Like belated parenting, we haunt each other in quick bursts now. Sample the drug, wrestle the angel, no depth of setting, hiding behind the hordes because we're in the train business. You don't need a ticket for a winter that only happened here. Behind this room is my mind, ashes runneth over. Throwing around this room is my mind, brim of an innocent soul. Which dollar deserves my neck? Thinking about you sharing a ghost with half of the city's afterlife, thinking about you, Santa's us. I'm just a small man in a basement window, chronicling material conditions, boiling water next to a change in the course of poor people's consciousness. I cannot impress you with the names of guns. We haunt each other with absolute pragmatism, with the truth of African transcendence. Another city ends. We hear the fire out. You know, I never really did like the car they found me in. Imagine what defines a creature. With remnants of concrete put none of the world down except slabs of a deadbeat nationalism or bloodline making the news again. True, I have an absence of style. Just a doorstep moving, dead body to dead body. My failing as a jail spirit. Or specific custody for me, monk. Almost a fist through the marquee. They beat me like old pearls in the riverbanks of an assortment of black latitudes. So many stabbed up instruments, nothing left of us but sweet Chicago rays, 1919, monk. My first poem as a white man. And all I see is a depopulated and obedient abyss twisting to the metronome ticks of my mother and father and baby prison society. God doesn't even seem possible. I run every street, light every cigarette, conjure body language, don't call it the South. I live in someone's terrified arms. There are these 1820s church pews unpainting themselves. There are these cracker doves, and the prison just keeps getting older and older. You know, you have to be a genius, you know. I know you have to, you know, you have to be a genius, like invite the devil into Reconstruction. You have to chase music even while you're dying. My conscience is clean, but still not the blues, more gallant rats and the death mask that fits millions. Do you find me morbid, monk? I woke up on a battlefield and also looking down from the crystal of a wind chime. I was a rooftop without a city, trying to figure out the right thing to do with my spirit chain subtext. Clinking coins, dialoguing like God's efforts. The carpenter's body was black, right? Underground body, simile nothing, abstraction nothing. It's society time. Detested and forgiven in this universe, letting me try my mind again. The police pantry was well stocked, and there I was, not participating in street life, my hands far from the self-talk. You could actually see police leverage bobbing up and down in a nuclear harbor. You could see flattened massacres of black people. The biographies done neatly stacked on top of my infant body, sleeping through my first imperialist summer. Hospital floor swept up of all 10 million bullets. My conscience and drum patterns strangely perceived. No home away from police insecurities, no working class artifacts. Just the state mythos and its love balladeers, Europe serving two masters, maybe 200,000 in a minor Christ. Someone begging for change next to biographies. Stomachs pumping next to biographies. I had all these 7-day candles lit, monk, and I knew I was just not getting it. The pain was just not sliding down the notes right, and not saving someone's world. Just odd walls of fear asking, what is it actually, a true self? Between these mildly confident walls, recalling how the front of the body feels outside. Social contracts well dressed and courted shrewdly, stabbed at shrewdly. Societies wander together like hopeful drops of a virus. Citizen testaments bent on offering me a nation of breadwinners to hold me back like it's a Brinks. I wrinkle the concrete sometimes like flesh. My Martin Luther King permanence turned away from a podium into the reeds like God is the dangerous twin. Black August to the mountaintop balcony on my bedroom floor. You know they steal you from the earth itself and suspend you in your broken neck from their fullest euphoria. From the loyalty oath of their gray superstitions, loyalty oath of their agrarian reform. I returned to my mother completely disrespected for peeling the heat off of purgatory that killed poets like me. Walked me away from my poems, never to be heard from again in this violent industrial complex of bloodlines picked over, picked through, a sport and spiritual death that your devil at least half made. Police become a pretty word. I'm reading a lynch mob shoestrings like they were tea leaves, teaching you how to write about cities. It's the 25th century in the mirror, people. Tyranny against your chump change and your chump. To be mocked even with a gun in your car, cubit of needlework, spelled tune for the proletariat, the relapse ministry, talented people curled up in a fetal position next to a diamond dime. Just another day in the theatrics of tea house fascism and a bouquet of surveillance cameras and the poverty of God. New blue eyes, corpses of water, newly potted presidency, or one big shiny coin if you ask animated capitalism and other non-literal voids. Killing is white freedom. The deification of hyphens, medicine bread and picture shows, great protesters in LA, guests of our ink. Drop kicking roses in the graveyard, DC mink like a stone torn in half, the pen advances despite CIA guideposts, despite non-African futures and past, a metaphorical but not surreal day in a horn-ridden life, horn player improvising king like a radio prize fight featuring Shango himself, a real hand sweeps the land of racism, may I return to the ground, may I make progress with the gun. My mother Emmanuel, they put on music that evening. A swinging tight body language for you to drink with fermented $5 bills for your body language, some applause. My past stomach lining, neither a good thing nor a bad thing, like being psychic on the way to a lethal injection. It'll sit you down with Lady Day. Lady Day leading you to surrender their souls to Africa too soon. Poly thought floating in the cup of water, she saved me. Accessing my stomach. Accessing the love of the American lynched. Coat sleeves wooden and avalanche into the wrist, our mother Emmanuel. Avalanche into the sharp keys pain. The deal you make with pain. Piano makes sense for them. Laying hands on the world gradually, addressing the bend and necks on the streets of the north, travelers sailing in pain, repeating pain in the north, 10 trigger fingers on that piano if harmony will have me, putting 100 fights on every direction offered her. Lady Day, leaning on trees again, recruiting the countryside itself. Lay your plan out on this lightning. Make your poems the corner pocket of men. I graded the blues itself. America may clean my dead body, but will never include me. There goes the poet, killing without killing. Don't mind this painting of your language. May I be a meaningful lynching, a crow's passing, good and dead by the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tongo, and I want to thank you again for being here with us tonight. I want to say to everyone, there are real struggles, real pain going on with people. We can't shy away from it. We got to give a voice to it, which is what you're doing. As I can honestly say, there's no better candidate for our current poet laureate. Thank you so much that you're doing for the community. All right. Thank you again to our poets tonight. And thank you to everyone for spending your Friday evening with us. All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and you enjoy the rest of your weekend. The International Art Museum of America, located at 1025 Market Street, sits in the heart of downtown San Francisco between 6th and 7th Street. The aim of our nonprofit museum is to display artwork from disparate cultures to promote peace and harmony among peoples. Visitors will enter a serene garden with full rock formations, a tropical landscape, and a waterfall flowing into ponds. Our gallery houses traditional and contemporary ink and wash Chinese paintings, abstract oil paintings, and hyper-realistic ink paintings of animals and figures. Approximately 60% of our collection are paintings and sculptures by the contemporary artist H.H. Dorje, Shang Buddha III. The gallery also houses European and Western oil paintings beginning from the 17th century to present day, including works by French realist Rosa Bornet, the Norwegian impressionist Fritz Thalo, and the French Fauvist Maurice Flaminique. IAMA offers a beautiful environment as well as 2 rotating exhibition spaces. Admission is now free. Here in our gift shop, we have something for everyone, whether you are local, just visiting, or shopping for yourself. We have many products based on IAMA's artwork, as well as international and Bay Area themed items. We do our best to have a consistent flow of new and exciting products so that you can always find something special to take home from your visit to IAMA.